Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. And tonight we have some guests with us, some friends of ours. My wife, Sandra, first of all, is joining us.
Hi.
And then some friends of ours who were the other part of the equation, in addition to the Chambers, who got us into wine, Rip and Tracy Rutherford. How you all doing tonight?
How you doing?
Doing great.
And we're going to do this in two segments tonight. We're going to talk to Rip and Tracy about their journey and kind of how they got into wine and where it's went for them as far as how they developed, what their palates are and what they're drinking. And specifically, it's Napa, right? I mean, that's kind of what you guys are into.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
most
much,
of what we...
Right.
We're
mainly...
trying to branch out, but mostly Napa.
But I'm going to tell you, we've been to their house, multiple times, and you talk about wine collections. You guys, I don't know, I'm anxious to hear where the journey started, but where you guys are now, I've not seen.
It's come a long
Yeah,
way.
I've not seen very many wine collections, specifically Napa wines, like yours. You guys have quite a collection and some really, really good wines, and so I'm anxious to talk about that. But the other part of the episode tonight is going to be talking about Texas wine country. Rip and Tracy just went this past weekend, and the weekend prior to that, we went. So that'll be the second segment. We're going to talk about, it'd been a few years for both of us.
Big surprise.
Since we've been over there, and it was a good surprise.
It was a very good surprise. Found a lot of great wineries there that we hadn't heard of before. Enjoyed their wine.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little bit, talk about just kind of our thoughts on when you take a trip over there, things to look for, what we would recommend for lodging, just all that kind of stuff when you make a trip over to Fredericksburg in that area to Texas wine country. But let's start with you guys. So, getting into wine, how does this story begin?
We, for our 10-year anniversary, we decided that we wanted to go to Italy. Really didn't have anything to do with wine, just that's where we wanted to go. And we booked a trip through a travel agent. We were supposed to leave in October, and the September before that was 9/11/2001. So travel was very limited after that, and a lot of international travel legs of trips were canceled, and just by chance our return trip home was canceled, and we were able, because of that, to get a full refund on our trip. We didn't get to go, but it meant that we didn't lose anything for being unfortunate to have booked a trip around that time. And about a week and a half before our 10-year anniversary, we called our travel agent and we're like, okay, this is great that we have all this money back, but we have no trip for our 10-year anniversary. Please, help.
You
What
need
can
a
we
trip.
do? And she said, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, what is the closest thing to Italy that we can get to? And she said, why don't you go to Napa Valley? So she put a trip together for us. She scheduled a couple of tastings and tours.
And at this point, were you drinking wine
At
at all?
this point,
I wasn't.
my husband was not drinking wine, and my wine drinking
Don't say it was Yellowtail.
No.
Probably
this was
Zinfandel.
way before Yellowtail.
This is way...
My wine drinking consisted of drinking white Zinfandel with my mother-in-law and her mother while we played cards. That was
Okay.
it. That's what I drank.
So you were
Franzia,
ground zero.
white Zinfandel out of a box.
We all start that way.
That's,
I wouldn't drink wine if somebody paid me.
kind of how we were before we went to Napa. And we went and stayed at the Vintage Inn in Yountville, which is beautiful. What a beautiful property. And she said, if you want to do more than what I've booked for you, please talk to the concierge there. He'll have all kinds of recommendations.
And back then, you didn't have to do appointments everywhere.
Right. You could
just
still
pull down
pop
a dirt
in.
road and start drinking.
So we did have a couple of appointments.
we
We did a tour at Behringer's. We did a tour at Rutherford Hill.
And you say back then, how many years ago was that?
18
Well,
years
it was
ago.
2001.
2001. Okay.
It was 2001.
Oh, you just said that. My fault. Yep.
2001. And we did ask the concierge for a couple of
went to
recommendations.
we hit a bunch.
He recommended for early Saturday morning that we go to Goose Cross and they had a wine tasting class in their
class,
vineyard.
probably over an hour, just sitting in their vineyard.
And
with
we
several other
sat
people.
under a big tree and tasted wine.
What to look for, if it's cork, whatever. Tastes like crap.
It was really a wonderful, for
Educational.
people who know absolutely nothing about wine. It was a great experience. And we just spent we were there for about 4 or 5 days. And aside from the couple of tours that we went on, we really just popped into places and tasted whatever they poured for us. We didn't know what to ask for. We just tasted what they poured. You know, they start at the
beginning. So
beginning.
at that point, you didn't know about Merlot and Petit Syrah and
well,
Syrah. And...
you know
Ripped it.
that there's different reds, but
right, but you didn't know
but
which
you
varietals.
don't know
I thought
what you
Zinfandels
like.
all look pink.
Right, you certainly don't know what you
I had no
like.
idea about a red Zin.
So, of course, every tasting that you start out with a Sauvignon Blanc, which both of us hated the first time we went. We were just like, no.
Really?
And our
But
first
the big
love
buttery,
in Napa were the
oaky.
big, oaky, buttery Chardonnays. Big ones. We loved ZD. That was our favorite. And
Come on, Rombauer.
we didn't
we
care
didn't go
for
there,
Rombauer.
though,
We didn't go the first time
for a
we
few
went.
years later.
But we actually kind of felt like Rombauer was a little overrated. But we loved BV. We loved Turnbull. Turnbull was that was our very first stop. And it has traditionally been our first stop every year we go. We always stop at Turnbull first. And we just found that those wines that offered up a whole lot in the first mouthful were what we kind of gravitated to. And it took us a couple of years before we began to appreciate, like Sauvignon Blanc. Now I drink all year round, even when it's cold. I love a good Sauvignon Blanc.
So this travel agent, she did you right.
She did a very good job.
And you had no expectation, no idea of going to Napa. You'd never heard anybody talk about being in Napa.
No.
And like I said, our first inclination was we wanted a place in the United States that would feel like Italy.
No closer.
So we weren't even okay. Great, we get to do this wine stuff, but we were there for the scenery and for all of that.
Sure,
right? Because it's
Kind of.
beautiful
it's
over
Italy.
there.
Yeah, it's history.
And not so much for the wine, but we came back wine drinkers for the first time, and
so that's 2001.
2001.
So how many times have you been back?
Oof.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
At least 10, 15, 10, 12 years at least.
We probably
I'm at close to
between
15.
12 and 15 at this point.
Wow.
Since 2001.
Since
Yes.
2001.
So almost every year.
Almost every year.
Every other at a minimum.
Oh, no.
By the time the kids were into college, we were skipping
Kinda slowing
years
down.
here and there. So it hasn't been, the consistent solid every year.
So
But
I
for
wanna-
a while we did go every year.
So you've been there quite a bit now. Have you found something new every time that you go over there? Like have you discovered something new?
Yeah,
in your winery
and
or
now
new
as the
taste
years went
or-
on, we become members at some. I mean, I tell you, when we first started going year to year, we became members at like Turnbull. And Turnbull had one that we really liked that they made a long time ago. You could buy it here, and it was Old Bull Red.
Old
Is that
Bull
right?
Red.
I mean, it was like
Just a
it's
table
like a
wine.
$16 bottle of wine. It was cheap.
It's a red
And it
blend.
Oh yeah, and it was good. It was good, and then they stopped. They came out with like 100-point wine, and they, I think they probably just tore up the vineyards and planted better grapes or something. Or I don't know, and they don't make it anymore.
Wow.
It was a great wine. Then at one time, but you find out what you like, and we were members at Turnbull, right next door, Nickel and Nickel.
And right across the
street
highway,
at
Robert Mondavi.
Robert Mondavi has a lot of good wines. That
Did you join a winery?
not even knowing, didn't even think about it till after the fact, and it was because that soil, I guess, something about it. We just liked those wines.
Did you?
Now I'm not a member of any of them.
Did you join one the first trip you went out?
No, no, did we? No, we didn't. No, we really didn't know anything.
I don't think
Did
we
you? Yeah.
did the first time we were there. We were a little overwhelmed when
Sure,
they would
I
say,
can see that.
"Do you want to be a
We
wine
bought-
club member?" And we're like, "We don't drink that much
We bought
wine."
maybe a bottle here, a bottle there,
Right.
And over the years,
I mean, we might have come home from our first trip with maybe a little over 2 cases.
maybe 2 cases, yeah.
But the second time, we were like, okay, we'll join here. Oh, this is good. We'll join here. You find out what you want and what you like, and then it's just so easy to have them ship it to you rather than trying to drive all over Houston and find it from somewhere. And
now we're members. You know, I mean, there's a couple of them I want to get rid of, but I mean, we're still getting them. But if we don't get a chance to go to Napa, we can call up and get some.
Yeah.
I mean, like, we've gotten now to the point where our wines, I mean, of course, you've seen them. I mean, we collect more, I think, than we actually drink. We might want to start drinking a little bit of it because it's getting to where we ain't got no room.
Do you have any friends that might help you?
We have a couple.
We've got several.
I mean, I'm not sharing with the people that just want to get drunk. These are expensive wines.
I'm talking about people who want to drink good wine. You got
drink
friends
good wine.
Right.
If you want to drink good wine,
Right.
I know somebody.
Okay. So you guys started 2001 and came back with 2.5 cases, and I'm guessing you went back the next year. You were hooked.
The next year, I don't think we did, but Chris,
That
year.
was Chris and Terry's first year.
And that would
then
be Chris and
So-
Terry Chambers.
Chambers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the next year, they
then-
went without you because it was
They had
when
never
they...
been.
It was
and they-
their anniversary.
Right.
And
He had
they
forgot
did their
that
trip.
story.
Yes.
His anniversary
Okay.
or something. Yeah.
And
So-
then the following year.
So
is
your
when we-
guys, you're similar as far as when you started the Napa. Both
Right.
of you. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and in between our first year and their first year, we went to a Coppola wine dinner at Carrabba's.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when we talked about Napa with them,
And then
and
they
they
went.
were like, that sounds like a great
Trip.
kind of trip. And then they went, and then that's the year after that is when we started going together. And Napa is a great trip to do with just you and your spouse. It's very romantic. There's a lot of things that you can do, just the two of you. There's some great spas. There's some great restaurants. Really fun trip for just the two of you, but it is loads of fun with a group of people.
Right.
Really fun. And we have
We were in a house with
We've
everybody.
stayed in a couple of different houses. We have a favorite one that's in the middle of a vineyard that's up more towards Calistoga.
Might be burned as of right now. We don't know.
We've stayed
yeah.
in some of the different hotels, and then some of the properties of some of the wine people that we know. But it is really a lot of fun to be with your group of friends when you go. So
Yeah, we obviously me. And
Well,
Sandra-
we were gonna
we
go.
were going to
gonna
go
go
with
with
you
you
guys,
all.
and that was the
fires 2
year.
years ago.
Fires.
That was in
Yes.
17 when they had the fires over
Right.
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
So, and all the things that we had scheduled for the time that we were going to be there,
Had to cancel last minute.
They
I mean, it was a week
canceled.
before.
Week
Right.
Even the
before.
wineries canceled.
the wineries
Yes,
canceled.
they
So we
canceled.
couldn't. Everything
good
was
ones
closed
booked,
down
too,
because of
yeah.
the fires. So it's really kind of sad that we're back. I mean, we're talking right now, and they're in the same kind of boat.
I know.
It's
It's very
so sad.
really kind of heartbreaking. But it is a lot of fun to be with your group of friends.
Because we've done it. Our first time was this past February, several months ago. That was our first time going. You're right. We had a blast, just her and I, and it was a lot of fun. And not ever being to Napa before, we still had some good intel from you guys and from the Chambers and from other people who had been multiple
We
times.
weren't
And
running
so
around lost.
We
had
weren't
some
one of those
pretty
people
good.
who were just overwhelmed. We kind of had a plan going in, help from you guys, but I thought it was fantastic. I mean,
it's a great
and,
trip.
and you go up there thinking, man, I'm going to get all this stuff done and see all these places.
You don't have time.
And you don't. You think you do. You think I'm going to be able to see 3 or 4 a day, and then you get into a tour or something, and it takes 4 hours.
Right.
Well,
You're done.
the cool thing about it is, depending on the time of year you go, sometimes you can knock out a handful in a day because they're busy. They're shuttling people in and out.
If you just want to go in for a tasting, you
Right.
can do that. You don't want to go in
Right.
like, just go in and taste a couple.
There's nobody
Right.
there to talk to. It's just the people that are pouring wine, and they're happy to see you, and they pour, and they give you maybe 20, 25 minutes, and then you're out the door to the next one. And so
Right.
you can do that depending on what time of year you're there. If you are there, I love going in February, March-ish when
Yeah.
everything is done because they're all sitting around waiting for
April.
people to talk to.
Right.
That's
you
what I
get to-
enjoy.
Right.
Being able to see
you
the
get to talk to the
winemakers.
winemakers.
Everybody
you get
goes
to
during
talk
Crush
to the
and-
owners, and it's beautiful at
But
Crush.
it's
so
packed,
fun,
you know.
but it's crazy busy, and you don't get to talk to anybody. And
Right.
when you go in a time when it's not
It's their
peak and
Well,
downtime.
and that's kind of the difference that I think we have all evolved to a point where we appreciate wine so much. We love talking to the people who put their fingers in the dirt and make
Right.
the wine and do all that. Where the people go during Crush, they want to go just for the excitement of it, not really
Right.
appreciating what these people are. That's just an opinion of mine. I don't
Right.
know if that's
I'm
fact,
with
but
you. I'm the same way.
so if I can go and the vines are cut back and they're not starting to grow yet until spring, and I get a chance to really talk to the winemakers and the people who are, making this wine, that's what I enjoy more than anything is the stories and
Yeah,
just
dealing
the
with
history
ex-owners.
behind these places.
Yeah.
Well, they tell you how they got into this, because a lot there are some families there that have been there for a long time, and so there's
50
Sure.
years.
generational traditions there. But there's a lot of people that just got tired of what they were doing, sold it all, and moved to Napa, and now they're making grapes. The Reynolds
good.
Family Winery is one and Steve Reynolds has a great story.
You know what
And
he
he's-
was, right?
he's-
Before he got into wine?
He was
God, man, I forget it.
a dentist.
That's
right.
right.
Ellers, he is a heart guy. He's a cardiologist. And they just have great stories, and they love what they do, and they love talking to people about it.
Right.
So it's fun to be there when, oh my gosh, there's Steve Reynolds right there. Let's see if we can't.
When we,
Get him over here.
We've been, obviously, you guys, I will say, since we brought up Reynolds, that's the first winery the wine and the winery that got me hooked. We went to a wine dinner with you all in the chambers at Post Oak Grill, and it was a Reynolds family winery. That was the first one we went to,
Yes, it was.
and that's when we joined Reynolds family. That was the first one that we joined, and from there, I mean, it's just we've been lucky. I'll say I've been lucky. I don't know if you want to look at it that way, Sandra, but you guys and being around you guys in the chambers has helped us so much as far as growing a lot quicker than maybe we normally would in wine. And I've gotten to a point where I think it's because of your all's influence that big wineries, whatever. Boutiques,
boutique
small,
wineries.
Right.
that's
They'll
where I'm
surprise you.
members of. That's where I think they make the best juice. I
Well,
just
and
do.
again, when you're there when it's not peak time, and you have a minute to sit down and talk with some of those people, they'll say, "Hey, what are you doing next? Let me call my buddy down at this winery down the road that you've never heard of,"
Yeah.
and he'll make an appointment for you, and you go, and they're so happy to see you. And that's how we found Pfeiffer Pavitt. Ellers is
Pavitt.
that way. We went to Larkmead like that. Just
Yeah.
all these kind of smaller, off the beaten path little wineries
Stelzner.
that
Stelzner. Those all happened.
Those are all.
on
That
the-
was on the Silverado
That
Trail.
was on the Stag's Leap deal. We started going to their V to
So
V.
you'd say Stag's Leap because there's the
That's that's
main
one of the
different
appellations, I guess you'd
appellations.
say.
Right.
Okay.
You got Rutherford. You got
Yountville.
Yountville. You got
Oak Knoll,
Oak
Yeah.
Knoll.
St. Helena,
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. What are the? What's the other one? Oakville.
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 There's several
You
of
know.
them.
And then all the mountain
Alice
ones.
Peak.
Yeah,
Diamond
Diamond
Ridge.
Mountain.
But we
Powell
started,
Mountain.
you get emails from all these places, and then the next thing you know, we got the one from the V to V, and I was looking at the V to V. Well, one of the years we went out there, I guess we went to Pine Ridge or whatever, and they had this, like a postcard. And it was like 13, 14 wineries. It's the Stag's Leap appellation,
District.
and they're the wine growers. And they have a V to V, vintner to vineyard, or something
Vineyard
like that.
to Vintner.
And it's a big weekend party, and it's a little, it's not too bad.
You
Expensive,
can do it
but-
reasonably, or you can
Or you-
do it
the-
bit. The
You can
whole,
go
they-
overboard.
right. They
and
have
we'd
dinners
go
and
overboard, and we would buy the dinner the night Friday night, and then Saturday. Plus, you'd get all one bottle from that year from each vintner, their signature bottle usually, or whatever. Usually $100 bottle or something. But that's when we started, really getting into some of the.
Okay, what year was
higher-
that?
That's probably about 5 or 6 years ago, maybe.
well, it was 2012. I think was the first year
2012.
that we went.
Okay, well, been a
think it was
So
while.
prior to
2012.
that, from 2001, 2012, what was your you had a wine
Man, we were
fridge.
just
How many
going.
bottles do you have?
Oh, then we didn't, we we would buy cases. You know, I mean, we'd go out there and that'd be my ship. That would be my wine for the year. I'd buy 5 to 10 cases, ship it home. You know, and literally, and that's I
what
didn't
we
go to
drank all
HEB.
year.
You
Yeah.
know, that's pretty much the way it is still today. I mean, I buy a lot
If you
of
like
wine,
it, you're gonna buy it and
I you know, if I go
invest.
to HEB, it's because I don't have time to order it from the vintner. You know, I mean, pretty much.
Well, we're fortunate that we have an insider who can say, "Hey, by the way, we've got this bottle in at
Right.
this price. You can come and get it now, or you can wait to ship it." And so we will take advantage of that kind of situation. But we
Yeah, they
typically
call. They'll call you too and say, "Hey, I got Sauvignon Blanc on sale right now." I mean, well, there was one of them, Stelzner. We had told.
Well, that's
Chris
the wine
and
that
Chris
they bought for
a ton of it
Alex's
his
wedding.
That's right.
Daughter's
Right.
wedding.
The Sauvignon Blanc.
So you gotta say thank you to that
Travel
travel
agent,
agent
yes.
who got you now,
Jackie, if you give me a minute, I'll remember her last name. Jackie.
who
She was
started you on
fantastic.
this nice wine journey.
Right.
So-
Well, and since then, when we went to Italy for Rip's parents' 50th anniversary, we also hit some wineries there.
Yeah.
So you develop an appreciation for the
So we love going to
Chiantis
Italy
and the
now.
Brunellos and
Barolos.
The-
So
And then
you've
Super
gone
Tuscans
from
and-
Napa now to Italian wines, and
Rip was in
so
Spain and he drank
It's
some
in
Spanish
Spain, but-
wines.
I haven't been, and I'm trying to, but I haven't been impressed with Spanish.
Well,
wine.
you know, it grows on you, I guess. I mean, I mean,
When you're there,
You
when you're
like
talking
it,
about,
right. Right.
when you're talking about Spain, though, you're talking about, southern, like Rhone, southern, and Portuguese. And you think about it, and we'll get into that probably, but that's what they're growing over here now.
Yeah.
in
yes,
Texas.
it's
But we
exactly
were
Yeah.
mentioning that earlier that, a Tempranillo,
Tempranillo.
for whatever
You know,
reason.
those southern, the Rhone region, that's the grapes that do well in Texas.
and the warmer climates.
it's the
You know.
climate, yeah.
And they aren't necessarily as full bodied as
The Spanish
and-
varietals seem to do a lot better here, in the southern French, varietals.
right.
I
But if
guess.
you begin to develop, if you just allow yourself to appreciate what the wine offers, there's actually some really good wines that are not. I think when we first got used to California wines, we compared everything to
Yeah.
that. And
I
we
know
were
a
like,
lady.
oh,
We all have a friend who still does that.
it.
Yes.
We
We
do.
won't
We're
mention
not
no
going to say her
names.
name.
And she knows
and
who
She's a
she
she
broaden
knows
her
who she
horizons.
is.
She knows who she is.
But you have to kind of set that aside and say, okay, this is not going to be my favorite cab from Napa. It's not even going to be in my top 10 Napa cabs, but it's going to offer. I want to know what this wine has to offer me,
Right.
and
That's what I've
it's
enjoyed
pretty
about exploring
surprising.
wines. Is
I think it's pretty
so different.
surprising that there are
You've
things that you
explored a lot
like.
more than most in a quick
He
phase.
has in a
I gotta
very
say
quick.
that I don't. We've gone to like Prague and Vienna and gone to
Croatia.
and Croatia has some very good wines.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they have great wines. We went to a few places on the
In
Greek
Greece.
Isles.
At
and noticed-
Kefalonia, that
they had
winery
some
that we
good
went to in
wines.
Kefalonia, we had
Now,
some really good wines.
the stuff over there in the, I guess you want to call the old, Czech Republic and all that stuff, it's a little dry and it's different,
Wait, when you say dry, we drink dry wines.
Well, but these are, man, and they like schnapps. I mean, it's a different taste, Now it's been several years since we did it. I've noticed my palate has changed.
Oh, yeah.
A lot over the last, let's say 5 years. I mean, is it good? I don't know, because my pocketbook's a little light, But we're finding some wines now here locally in Texas that
Which is kinda
are
nice.
affordable.
Yeah.
And I think they're very good,
So, with y'all's palate changing and getting into wine, what about your kids?
Oh, that's the worst part of it.
That I think is the worst part.
They like they like the finer things.
So
because
they
of
didn't
this.
start out with the Franzia.
No,
No.
no. And that's funny because
They're a Rob.
my older kids all went to Texas Tech, and they were all just looking at people and what they would drink, and they would be like, "What is wrong with you? Why are you drinking wine out of a bag?" That
Right.
So unlike me, who that is what the first wine that was ever offered to me was wine out of a bag, from my sweet mother-in-law. And she doesn't even drink wine out of a bag anymore. It's just, my kids knew from a very early age that if it didn't come out of a good bottle and you didn't swirl it in a glass and smell it before you drank it, it wasn't good wine.
And that, you know what I have to say? I think our daughter is the same
Yeah.
way. They haven't started out with the lower end Franzia
Well,
like I did too.
Well,
Exactly.
she's 21 now, and she'll make the comment that she goes out with her friends and be like, "Mom, Dad, they don't know what a good wine
No,
is."
Oh, yeah.
and it's a good thing
and then it's
and
a
a
bad
not
thing.
good thing.
Yeah, they've never been on a beer budget.
That's
No,
what
they
that's what I'm going to
haven't.
say. But there's that journey of I missed out on it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't start with cheap wine. I mean, with you guys in the
We
chambers,
did.
because she put me on trying to get me to do wine forever, and I put it off until you guys in the chambers. And when I came in, instead of being on that low tier, I came in on,
Like
on
your
a
kids.
mid-high tier.
Right. So
Yeah.
you didn't do the barefoot.
No.
and
Didn't.
Right.
I say he never paid
You
his
know,
dues.
Well, and you're right, I didn't. So I don't know that I have that great appreciation, but I've had people give me a wine in a glass, and I've drank it and went, okay, that's not good wine. So I've
Right.
kind of went and know what I didn't have to suffer
You
through.
just
So I
jumped
appreciate
ahead.
Well,
that.
if somebody hands you a glass, and not all, I'm not going to knock all house wines, but 90% of a house wine in a plastic cup is not going to be good wine.
Well-
and I think that's where so many people start, and why they kind
That's
of
the
say,
bar.
I'm not a wine drinker. I
Right.
don't like that. Well, I wouldn't either if that
Right.
was where I started.
Right.
So our kids are, yeah.
A funny
their-
story about
their
plastic
palates
cups.
are-
So one time we went to Brenner's to eat, and the Chambers were having a baby. They were having Anna
Lynn.
Oh, Anna.
And
she
just
went into
had
labor.
just had her that morning, and we said, "Hey man, we're going to Brenner's. We'll pick you up dessert. What do you want?" I don't know if it was creme brulee or bread pudding, whatever it was. So we got it to go. One of our friends that's gone to Napa several times, he used to run Brenner's, and we also had a bottle that we brought from home, a nickel and nickel bottle,
Oh.
and poured it in styrofoam cups, and we drank it in the hospital
The
Wow.
day Anna Lynn was born.
the day Anna
Yeah.
Lynn was born.
Sometimes
good
you
story
make
for
do
her.
with
Yeah.
what you do.
Yeah.
With what you have.
That's right. That's a great story. And a great bottle of wine.
Oh, and then, yes, it was a really good bottle.
Yeah.
Now Anna
So-
won't know what barefoot or
She got
something.
drunk
Right.
the first day she drank from her mama.
Man, if you guys would have never went to Napa and just to Italy, you might just be. You want me to rinse that for you?
No, I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. We're pouring wine as we're talking. Of course, you have to drink a little wine. I will tell you that we're drinking Texas wine tonight.
Yes, we are.
But if you wouldn't have went to Napa, if that didn't
There'd be a
happen-
lot of people that wouldn't know good wine right now. A lot
Well,
of people.
I don't want to say that. I want to say you might
Well,
be
I
just
think
in
our
Italian
journey just
wine.
would have. Right. I think we
Maybe.
would have.
Maybe.
It would have taken us.
Oh,
a
yes,
little
that's what
time.
I'm saying, yes.
If you're true,
You might be like, well, I'm starting to learn about Napa, but let me tell you what I got in Italy and what I got
Right.
in France. And,
Right. I
But
think
now
our-
we're the other end. You're into
Yeah,
Napa
I
and
think
have
we
been.
would have had a different. I think we would have eventually ended up in Napa.
Sure, you would have.
If you appreciate wine, it's
absolutely.
Sure.
it's where you go. But at
Even
this
Texas
point,
now.
there's great wines in Oregon. There's great wines in Washington. There's really good wines in Texas, which
You know what?
Surprised us all.
surprised us all.
Do you know
with
what
this
one of the
recent
best
trip.
wine producing areas in the States are?
What, in Texas?
In the States, United States.
I'm
What?
good with the Highlands here in Texas.
New York.
New York, yes.
New
I'd love
York.
to go up there by like Niagara Falls.
Yeah. Apparently, they produce some really good wine in New York, and I had no idea.
Well, it's like the one that you see that one from the World Series that I bought a couple of years ago.
Right.
They make it for all the championship teams.
Well,
I've
then
seen that
now
bottle.
we
That's
gotta
from New
try
York?
those.
Yeah, it's a New
Oh, I
York
didn't know that.
wine.
Okay.
Well, we gotta
It's
try some
$45
New
a
York
bottle, $50 a
wine.
bottle. So.
If they win tonight, I'll be getting one from this year.
There you go. So let's now we've talked about the journey. So last 17, 18 years, been going to Napa. That's where it started unfortunately, because of the tragedy of
Right.
2001. But that got you into Napa wines. And your journey went from, when you got into Napa, you just started kind of feeling your way through, and it took you a few years until 2012 where you really said, now we like these good wines. We kind of arrived at the upper tier of these wineries and what they're producing. So let's talk about what are your favorite wineries and what they produce and what you have in your collection now.
Oof. Well,
let's start by telling everybody how many bottles are in your collection now.
as of today, right now, I'm gonna have to say today, as of like 2 days since we just got back from.
Subtract the ones that you
700?
brought here.
Well over 600.
Okay, I was gonna say 700. So okay, we're close.
Yeah, we're close.
600 to 700 bottles.
So, and there could be more, but I know when I got shipments coming in right now, and it's gonna grow. But
So you really need people to reach
drink.
out to me.
I haven't been drinking a whole lot of wine here this year for some reason, but I'm gonna have to get back on it. So our collection.
700 bottles of rock, approximately.
Okay, you may have said it already, but what was the first
What's the
membership,
first wine
club
club?
membership?
I think it was Turnbull.
Probably Turnbull.
I think it was Turnbull.
Turnbull
Was the first
And,
one,
you
and
know,
shortly after that, Mondavi.
We've changed. We've changed a lot. We've had Ellers. We've had Nickel and Nickel. We've actually went to Nickel
Maryvale.
Party.
We were members at Maryvale for a while.
We weren't. No, I don't.
I think
if
we were.
we were, I don't remember that one. But we've got. I mean, and I don't know how many we got right now. We got a little too many. I know we want to cut back on a couple of them and maybe go to some.
Well, you're still at Robinson.
Robinson. We're going to keep
Date night.
Pfeiffer Pavitt. We're going to keep
Pavitt's
that one. We love
fantastic.
that one. And Joseph Phelps. We're going to keep that one. We have several friends that have Reynolds, so we're going to probably drop Reynolds, and we can just piggyback on them.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Sure.
We have friends that have Ragushi. We don't have Ragushi.
We have
What else
Ragushi.
do we have in California?
Stelzner.
No, we're not members of Stelzner.
No.
We just buy.
I think that's it at this point.
Man, I think
Well,
there's
that's
one more
quite
I
a
can't
bit.
think of.
That's still
That's
bad.
fine. Huh?
Trefethen.
Trefethen, that's the
Oh,
other.
Yeah,
yeah,
you
that's
get your
a good
Halo
one. We
shipment.
like
I got my
Trefethen.
Halo.
We're
the other
members
day.
there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so those are our winery that we're members of there, and
Did you join any?
We purchased from Spotswood. We purchased from
yes,
Taylor.
I've
We
got a
purchased
bunch coming from Spotswood.
Taylor's fantastic.
Taylor
Taylor,
wines
we
are great.
purchase it yearly from, maybe a case total a year from Taylor. Well, maybe a case and a half because we usually get a case of whites and then maybe 6,
Right.
mix and match
Right.
reds.
So we have wineries there that
But
we purchase from regularly.
some of the bottles, they might be a $25 bottle, but they go all the way, and I really don't want to say to what price they go to because it's crazy.
Well,
but,
we did last
Well, we're gonna
year.
know the price when you start naming the
well,
bottles.
then you're right.
We did
So-
last year. We did
But those I collect, I mean,
Yeah.
we'll try one every once in a while, but
Hey, I'm all for you collecting those bottles. Let me just get the juice out of it for you.
yeah, well, when we do open, I will make sure to call you because I wouldn't drink those with just anybody.
we did a tasting here in town with the Howell Mountain wineries.
Yes, and found out we
And
really
we
like
really
several of
like
those.
several of those. And
Okay.
so
And
we
they'll-
have ordered consistently from
like Ladera. Remember? I mean, that was
Ladera's
one
awesome.
Great.
I want to say that. Yeah, that's a really good
Pistone,
one. Ladera.
Spence, Dunn we really liked.
There were several.
really
that
good.
Pistone
Howl
was
at the
awesome.
Moon,
Yes,
there was a lot of really
yes.
good
That,
Howl
that
at
was
the
an
Moon.
Italian, old
The
world
Italian,
type of wine.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now there's another one coming up. It's independent growers, and it's going to be at the Forest Club off of Memorial, and that one is December 14th.
No, November.
No, November 14th, and it's only about 9 wineries, and we got that one through an email from Pfeiffer Pavitt, which is Pfeiffer Pavitt, Switchback, and then there is 8 other wineries that are going to be there. And so it's small, but I mean, it'll be the same type of deal as at Howell Mountain where you can try all
Try
of them if
everything
you
you
want to
wanna
buy
try.
some while they're there.
Those
You-
are really good things to
But
do.
Yeah.
but you saying that just reminded me. I just got a notification that February 4th, 2020, there's 60 wineries coming to Houston from Willamette, Oregon. All the wines that
That's
are
kind
going
of, where's that going to be? I'd like to, I'll go.
I got the details, so we'll look it up. But I thought, man, that's going to be cool. I would love to go
That's
down
really
and
nice
explore
to do
some
because
of
Hey,
these.
you can
let me
explore
tell you,
different
they're-
wineries.
The
Yeah.
only wine that I've tasted from Oregon
good
is Penner
food.
Ash, and it's
They have it
very
all.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, there was how many were at that?
Like 25 or 30.
30 of them,
There
you
were
know,
a
from
lot of them.
Howell Mountain, and that's a lot of them. This
But
one's like, hey,
I'm seeing that with Houston, though. I'm seeing that people know
Houston-
that Texas and Houston, and
Texas
maybe
is
Dallas is the
probably
same
one
way,
of
but
California's bigger buyers.
yeah, we buy wine, and
A lot
so
of
they're
wine.
starting to bring it to us instead
Trust
of.
me.
And I think that's great.
Well, I don't know if it's just our being aware of more wines and different kinds of wines and wineries that we're seeing more of it, or I think it's actually growing. The whole wine
Is that good?
industry or drinking of wine is growing or seems to be
It
growing.
has been
a
for the last
lot
few years,
more
and I know that
now
because you tell
than
me if
ever
I'm wrong.
before.
You tell me if I'm wrong. When I was 18 to 30, I didn't drink wine.
I drink beer,
Exactly.
and that's all.
And
I
now when you see these 21, 22, 23-year-olds, and I
They're all
respect them,
drinking wine.
I appreciate, I'm
Well,
jealous, I'm envious
I
that
wanna
they're
know where they
drinking
get their
wine.
money.
Where they get the money to pay for it. We're
Maybe
But
they're
we're
buying
doing
yellow
we're
tape.
paying
They're
for it.
drinking,
for
But
it.
just
they're
the fact they're
drinking
drinking
it.
wine at a younger age,
Right.
to be able to start that appreciation and then find some decent bottles, lay them down for a while, and be able to
Right.
come back in 10 years. And I mean, I think that's fantastic. So,
Right.
Back
I
on
guess
my
maybe we're
collection.
the ones
Yeah, back
educating
on your
them.
Back,
collection.
we could
Let's
go
go.
on forever on these different.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
we're
deal.
getting off track. Let's
when
go.
when you get, I'm gonna sorry. So, we both have. Me and Tracy have maybe a little bit different palates. I usually
There's
I
a
usually,
handful of things that we both are
Like-
really fond of, but we each have our own little.
I'm gonna say my favorite with hers would be date night. I mean, I love date night.
I do too. That's one
Both
of
of
my
them,
favorites.
the white and the red.
And just to be clear, tell people who that is, who's the
Date
producer.
night, fight for Pavitt.
And that's the only two wines they.
Well,
they
they're
changed
coming
it
out.
now.
They've got they did make some
They made a
reserves.
sparkling.
They made a sparkling.
But not a big wine. They're not
No, it's not a big production guy or gal. It's a
family little.
family owned little small deal. Beautiful. When you think of restoration hardware, that's what you're going to go into the winery and upstairs. That's what it looks like. And I guess do they also own Switchback or how does that work, man?
I'm
They're
not
partnered.
sure.
They
I
don't
think
own
they're
them,
just
but
partners.
They're partnered
Yeah,
with
I've
them
never
on a
asked.
lot of marketing and different things.
But fight for Pavitt, when I want to impress somebody, it's not the most expensive and it's not the cheapest, but I mean,
But it's good.
It's a
great wine.
consistently
It's better than good.
delicious.
It's a
bottle of
fantastic
wine.
But there
bottle.
is
Yes.
so many of them like that. I mean, it's hard for me to sit here and tell you what is my favorite.
Yeah.
I
I have a
my most
handful of
expensive
whites that I
favorite
love.
has to be, and it is a really good one. And the only reason, I don't know why I buy it because I bought it twice. Now that I'm able to get the allocation, because not a lot of people can get it, but it's 100 acres,
Yeah.
and it's probably the most expensive one I buy. Well, there's a couple of other ones that are out there with it, but
Who's the producer of what's the one Poolside or what is it?
That's a Stelzner.
That's a-
Poolside. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Poolside.
that's. I
That's
don't
a
know if
good
they're
little
they
bottle
still
wine.
making that or not. She's changed that whole profile deal up. Allison has now.
Mm-hmm.
She's taken over and done very well. Allison Stelzner has unbelievable wine. She's cool, and just the whole family got to meet her at the Vita V.
But if we talk about the higher end of your collection, obviously you just
Yeah,
said you have 100 acres.
100 acres.
You got Halos.
Hillside Select. I'm able to get that allocation, so I get. Actually, I think I
He's
got a
got
magnet.
quite a
of that
Hillside
cover.
Select from, so people know Schaefer,
That's Schaefer.
Right.
That's
We
their
have the
top of the
we get
line,
insignia.
100-point wine.
where the story was you got to sit down and visit.
Man, oh yeah, at our first V to V. Was it? No, it was our second.
No, the first one.
Was that the first one?
Yeah.
Got to sit down. Actually, it was the coolest story, man. Our last name's Rutherford. Well, this guy, Doug Schaefer, I don't know who Doug Schaefer is. I go to this deal, I just thought it would be cool. Didn't really know much about Stag's Leap, but I wanted all the bottles. So what do? We're going to this deal, and we're going to have a good time, And so this Doug Schaefer and his dad, John Schaefer, the proprietors of Schaefer Vineyards, they actually picked us. They go, when we saw Rutherford, and then we saw his first name, Rip, I shit you not, dude, that's what he told us in our line. And I'm like, He goes, man, you're Rip Rutherford. We're sitting with y'all. That's what I swear to God, Doug said that.
Did he think you were a Napa guy, Rutherford?
No, he goes, man, when we saw Rutherford, we're thinking, I said, well, I'm from Texas, So he goes on, we're drinking wine. We're at Ragushi drinking wine. That's where the dinner is at Ragushi up in this loft. And Chris Chambers comes up to me and goes, dude, do you know who you were talking to? And I'm like, no, I didn't even really catch his name. He goes, that was Doug Schaefer. I said, who's that? He goes, that's Schaefer Winery. I said, well, hey, man, you can talk to them all night. They're sitting at our table, man. So that's just another story. I mean, I can tell you thousands of them, but we got to sit with John. John sat right here, and then Chris sat over there, and he's telling us about his World War II and all the way, coming out of the publication or whatever he did in Chicago or something. I think that's where they were from. And
Right.
to coming over and buying some land and becoming a farmer. And then Doug sat in between me and Tracy. And by the end of the night, and I don't know how many bottles we drank, but it was insane. We had John Ragushi.
And his wife.
Well, no, he wasn't married to her at that time, but it was just John. And everybody wanted to hang out at that table, John. So we got a picture somewhere of we're all just sitting there and some of the biggest wine, John Ragushi and the Schaefers hanging out with all,
That's
hours.
amazing.
That was a cool trip.
That's a cool story.
But
so that's Hillside Select.
That was Hillside Select.
Trefethen, you get Halo.
Trefethen get Halo. Is it one of my favorites? I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it is. It's a good wine. Is it worth it? I don't know. I got it. I'm still a member there. I'll still be a member there. Or for the time being, I'm still going to be a member there because I like some of their wines, but I've always loved Joseph Phelps.
Insignia.
That's probably, and it's a high dollar. It's getting more and more expensive every year. And
now, how many bottles do you get of that?
I get 6 of the Insignia, unless I want options to buy more, But in my shipment, I get 6 of those. I get 6 Bacchus, and then I get their Pinots. It's part of the shipment. But, like Bacchus, nobody, unless you're a member, you don't get Bacchus. I mean, you can't even go to the winery and buy it unless you're a member. And I get the Bacchus, and I'm like, what is so great about Bacchus? Well, Bacchus, Screaming Eagle is right here, and on the other side of that fence is the Bacchus. So but Bacchus is really good wine too.
Bacchus is you've let me share a bottle of that.
Yeah.
That's an outstanding wine.
But Joseph Phelps is just a cool place to go. It's it's off the beaten path. It's, I guess, further to the east down a little road and off of the Silverado Trail. That's another one of my favorites, I guess you could say.
Now, you mentioned Screaming Eagle. Do you have any?
No, and that to me, there comes a point when price just,
What does that go for about? I don't even know.
Well, I don't know either, but you see it,
Yeah,
1,000 here, 3,000 there at auctions and stuff. If you can get it, I've never had it, probably never will. So,
hey, there's plenty of other good stuff out there.
There's plenty of good juice all over that area. I mean, I've never got into the Sonoma, one of our first places that we always like to go was Coppola. Cool place.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard it's kind of gotten like Disneyland over there and stuff. I haven't been in years, so I don't know what it's like, but it's more the hype now, because they've really, unfortunately, Coppola to me has gone gigantic.
He has. I agree.
And they did the Sonoma deal, and a lot of their wines are coming out of that. Now they still have. They're calling them different labels now. I think they've still got the they don't have cast, but what's the other big one that they do?
They did the Panino.
That was a good one.
That was a really good one.
Like a double magnum of that one time.
I don't know the name. The Rubicon.
Rubicon. Yeah,
the Rubicon.
They still do the Rubicon.
Okay.
But it's not, to me, it's not the same. Now I tell you, they have a diamond series. One of the last wine dinners we went to at Carrabba's, they had a mix, and this is a cheap wine. This is one, and it's the diamond series. Is it the Claret, maybe?
I don't remember.
No, Claret's not diamond. They have a diamond reserve.
And whatever it is. It's
Yeah.
the white dot, that series. It's a very good wine for the price. Just letting you know.
It's like $17 a bottle.
I bet.
Right.
Yeah.
Very affordable.
Yes.
What are some of my? I mean, I tell you, another one that's a really good one. If you want to get in, is Robinson. Great prices, great reds.
Oh, we're members there, and they're
Great
fantastic.
family. As a matter of fact, I just called and talked to them last week and up my order on some things from them that's coming in here in about a week or so.
Next week we get you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to mention one that you love,
Yeah.
Taylor.
I was getting to that one next. Another great small Stag's Leap area. They have a great white, and they have some really good reds. I mean, it's a good story there. Got to meet them all. They're, when you go to that V2V deal at Stag's Leap, you're not talking. You're sitting in their house in a lot of cases with the owners. They're farmers. They're grape growers. They become winemakers.
Their house is on the vineyard.
Right.
And you're sitting in their, either in their front yard or in some cases, they're cooking you pizzas at Robinson or, and you're talking to actually the people that own it. And they're just like you and me.
Yeah.
I mean, now let me tell you something. They got a lot. They're land rich, cash poor, maybe, but they got, because that land's worth a mint, planted in grapes. And, but they haven't been gobbled up by the big conglomerates.
Which we appreciate because
definitely
we know
appreciate.
that's going to affect the quality.
And in a lot of cases, it has. I mean, there's so many, though, that are so good, little boutique, whatever you want to call them, and the ones that produce maybe 300 cases or maybe 200 cases of this, and
what about how much? I know you buy it occasionally. I don't know how often you buy it. Quixote.
Quixote, that was one when they became. It was like the second year that we did the V2V. They got into the Stag's Leap, even though they're in Stag's Leap. They weren't in the.
They didn't produce a
participate.
wine that was
Well, they didn't participate
exclusively
in
from
the V2V.
Stag's Leap. So the V2V
And
wineries,
Quixote-
there are a lot of other wineries in that district, but you have to produce a wine that the grapes come exclusively from the Stag's Leap
Right.
district in order to participate. And Quixote hadn't done that.
And they do a lot
until
of
this year.
Pinots.
Till this year.
Till
Well,
the
no,
year
a
that
few
year
years
that
back.
we went.
Okay.
But they weren't the first year. They were not in it.
Right.
And but they do a really good Pinot now. And I'm
So they get that grape, I'm sure, from the Sonoma,
I don't.
Anderson Valley, somewhere over there where they're known for the Pinot.
I've got a big etched bottle from them that's really beautiful, and I bought that. Probably a drunk buy, but I got it.
Yeah.
But they do have a great cab, and then they got us a more economical cab that what do they call that? Panga, yeah.
Okay.
Ponzo.
Is
I
it
haven't had
Ponzo
that
or
one.
Ponzo.
No, you've had it. You've had it with us. I'm pretty
think
sure
so.
you have.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a good one, and I've called them a couple times and ordered that. So my roots, I guess, would have to say most of my good reds. I love the Stag's Leap. I love Oakville, but Stag's Leap's got it, man. But Rutherford, hey, I'll tell you one, and it's a fairly good price. Is Frog's Leap.
Frog Leap's good. I got a
Saint
few.
Supery's. We always.
I
liked
love
that
Saint
one.
Supery Sauvignon
Sauvignon
Blanc.
Blanc.
That's one
Sauvignon
of my
Blanc.
favorites. It's always been one of my favorites.
We had a bottle of that last night.
Yes.
One of
I
my
love
favorites.
that.
Yeah.
Round
Spotswood,
Pond. Round
Sauvignon
Pond's
Blanc,
a good one.
Round
for the
Pond's
money.
Round Pond's
great.
got some great stuff.
Yeah.
But here's one we haven't said, and you probably know more about it than I do. Faust Quintessa.
Beautiful place. Love going. At one time, okay, I'll never forget. I got in an argument with some guys on drinking wine, and I love the wine, and that's the Silver Oak. It's great wine,
They only make two.
but yeah,
Alexander
they're both
Valley
good.
and Napa.
And then
Yeah.
and and I want to say that's, let's say, $100 a bottle, maybe a little bit more now. I don't know. But at one time, Quintessa was right there on price. Quintessa's gotten, pricey. And because I thought about becoming a member there, and when I looked at the prices, I was like, shit, dude, I like it, but I don't know if I like it that much. I do like it, but we got in an argument, and the guy just kept on, just pounding on me about Silver Oak. And I'm like, if I'm going to pay that kind of money, and Silver Oak's great wine, great
Sure.
wine. I said, I'm going to buy Quintessa. Because at one time, they were pretty much right there in line,
Yeah.
same price. Now, it's changed, but when we were arguing back and forth, and he finally shut up, because I think he just thought Silver Oak hung the moon. And it's a great wine, but there's other out there at $100 or $125, whatever it is, that are just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
And Silver Oak's just done probably better marketing, better,
Sure.
go out there and try them, You'll find there's a lot better stuff than what you get or what you see, You got to try them, though.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate, blessed, I guess. We buy a glass from, if they sell them, from every winery we go to. And I bet we have close to 200 glasses from wineries.
I know you do.
Just there in Napa. I don't know. There's probably 400 to 500 wineries out there.
I'm hearing there's close to 500 now.
In Napa.
And
or,
just
the
in Napa. That's
area.
not Sonoma.
Yeah. No, that's not Sonoma.
That's just Napa.
Well, we have glasses from wineries that aren't there
They're
anymore.
they're not even there anymore.
There's several
They
properties,
shut down or something.
especially on 29. When you go in, they've been several different. They've been
Well,
several
where
different
Omega
wineries
is now.
right?
We're off of Omega. And that, he buys all his grapes from some of them high dollar Beckenstoffers and stuff.
He
and
makes
he's got
some good wine.
Good wine, but
Who's the winery? And I know you have a story. I know Chris and them always have a story. And it's slipping my mind. The old guy used to be a farmer.
Volker Isley.
Thank you. Volker Isley.
Good story.
Yeah.
Yes, we got to go. Good friend of ours. He works for Tillman Fertitta, Eric Cressy. He lined up a whole bunch of places. Well, one of them was Volker Isley. Well, we were going to go meet Volker's son
Alexander.
out at the vineyard. Well, he had something come up, and the son couldn't make it. So this old man comes out, and he got a bottle of wine in his hand. It's mid-morning, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna be your tour guide for the day." This guy walks us around the whole.
Did you have any
vineyard.
idea at that point who he was?
I don't know if he told. Not at the
Well,
beginning.
at
no.
the beginning,
We just thought he might be the guy that's going to show us around.
He gave us a little bit of an introduction. We're all standing there, and he tells us what he's going to do and
This
how the
was a while
winery
back.
started. And
I've
we're
had
all
one
standing
today.
there, and he said, "I'm sorry, Alexander couldn't be here today. He got called away on a, it was October, so it was crush, and they were busy." And he kept talking.
But he's
and
way off the beaten path.
A
He ain't
few
busy.
minutes later, he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't introduced myself. My name is Volker Isley." We're all just like, "No way."
I mean, we're sitting in his yard, drinking with him, eating fruit. He's got fruit trees and stuff, and he's like, my worst nightmare is he's got turkeys that come down and eat his grapes, and so we went. I'm telling you, we walked 100 acres, I bet, of grapes out through them mountains, and then we went. I wanted a box, so we go to this old barn, and it's an old barn. Old. And he's got boxes in there. He got us a box. I think I had him autograph it. Now he passed away a couple years ago.
Right. He passed away right before one of the V2Vs that we went to.
That's right. Yep.
And then the next year is when Joseph Phelps passed away.
Yep.
Right.
So
But that's those stories when you get to have that experience like that with,
Oh,
with
yeah.
the people who are making the wine. That's what I love about wine is,
there was a great guy that worked at Ragushi.
And we followed him around to other ones.
He's been at several different wineries, and we'll find him when we go. He's a hoot. But for like 3 years in a row, we'd go to Ragushi, and he'd be there, and he'd be like, "Oh no, it's y'all from."
He put on
Houston."
some whaling. We'd sit in
Really?
Ragushi and he'd be playing whaling.
But we were there one year, and
We
he
tried to hook him
said-
up with one of our
with-
friends,
right.
Ray Lynn.
He said.
She's going to appreciate
He
you
said,
saying
"How
that.
long?" He said,
She
"How
was
long are
there.
you guys gonna be here? You need to stay for just." We were wrapping up. We were, finishing up all our purchases or whatever. And he said, "Hey, why don't you guys come out and walk out over here? Jim just pulled up. I'll introduce you to
Jim
him."
Ragushi.
And we're like, "Jim who?" And we walk out, and this guy in this beat up old Ford truck gets out in his overalls and his shirt covered in grape stains and his little farmer hat, and he honestly looks like Tony Soprano in overalls.
Yeah.
And Graham Jones is his name. Everybody calls him Jonesy. And he said, these people are from Texas. They just purchased some wine from you. This is Jim Ragucci. Wanted to introduce you. And we all have this picture of us standing there with Jim Ragucci. And it's really, really pretty cool. And they're just farmers. And they love to talk with you and tell you about what they're doing. And
they just have so
they're
much pride.
appreciative of you being
yeah.
there.
They love what they do, and they love that you love
They're
what they
just
do.
regular human beings, just like us. They have, they don't look at it like they're the owner of Ragucci
No, they're
Wine. Trust me.
farmers.
Yeah.
You know, they're.
I mean,
it's really
first
great.
and foremost, that's what I love about wine is, one, it just brings people together with wine and food, and I love that. But then I love getting a little bit behind the veil, if you will, and seeing the people who do it. And they do it for the same reason, because they want it to bring people together. And whether you're going to their place or if you're just sitting at home and enjoying a bottle of their wine, having dinner with friends, nothing makes them happier than tagging them on a Facebook post and saying, we had a great bottle of your wine tonight. Thanks so much for the wine.
Right.
I mean, I see them respond and say thanks, and all the time. And it's like, wow, they actually see that and read that and appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. It's awesome. Well, man, that's anything else we want to talk about in your collection? I mean, anything you got that we want to?
Let's see. I've got
You've
some
come a
special
long way
bottles.
in 15 years.
Yes, I've got some special ones that I'm holding. I've got some big bottles. I got an Insignia, and that thing.
Is that a 3-liter, if I remember?
No, that's like a 6. I think it's 6. It's a big one.
Wow.
I got some 3 liters, but I think that's a 6. That's a giant.
It's a big bottle.
And that's a.
But you're a
that's
Napa
Insignia.
lover. I mean, that's
Napa
your,
lover, man.
But you are
I do love.
exploring
I'm
Italy,
yes.
France, Croatia.
Well, man, we need to go to France because I tried French wine, and hey, I'm telling you, this has to be 10 to 15 years ago at least. Right after I do have one bottle. I have a Rothschild, 2002.
Something like
It's
that.
an old, I've been sitting in, it could be probably my most expensive bottle right now, because it goes up. But it's a 2002, 2000 something, 2001, whatever it is. And Lafite Rothschild, never opened it,
You have that.
I have it.
What year?
2001 or 2. And
It's about ready.
Oh, you think about it, it's probably the oldest one. It's the oldest one. Take that back. I got some Stelzner I fell in love with, a reserve. Mm-hmm. And they only had a few cases left, and I bought a whole case, and it was a 2001. And I'm telling you, I got to say this, when it comes to holding wines, I have noticed that the Stelzner wines that I've had, we bought one at a Magnum
At Lynn's.
a 1990 for our anniversary. The Chambers were there. It was a Magnum.
It was in 1990, and you drink it when?
We drunk it. I don't know.
I
one
mean,
of
it
our
was maybe
anniversaries.
3 or 4 years ago.
No, it's been longer than that. It's been a while. But
But it was at least 17, 18 years old.
1990. Yeah, think
Well, I'm
about it.
just trying
Let's
to
say
think
it's
about when you
5
drank
years
it.
ago.
2007?
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe
so
about
only
5 years ago. Yeah, I'd say about 5 years
So
ago.
it's 25 years old.
Yeah, but I bought a case of 2001 Stelzner Reserve, whatever, badass wine, and man,
It's good.
We drank it at one of the dinners, and I was like, damn, and I think they were just trying to get rid of it, and I swear, man. So I asked Allison, we go to their deal the next day, and I'm like, well, we got a few cases left, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, you add a case in my bill, I want it,
Yeah.
And so they shipped us a case, and I have maybe 2 bottles. I don't think we have that many.
You don't think we have that many left?
No, I bet we have 2.
That means we can drink 2 while he's gone.
Right.
He won't,
I'm
yeah.
like,
if
I find one,
I can tell you one thing.
Right.
Some of these wines, I know exactly what I got. If one of them's missing, I'll know. And I know when my wife goes to a friend's house with one of my expensive bottles, because when they post it on Facebook, I'm like, none of my friends got something like that, I can assure you,
Hey, what are you trying to say?
Well, you might. Well, I mean, some of that stuff, you just don't break that out.
No, I know.
Especially when you're drinking 5, 6, 8 bottles at a time. But all in all, I'm trying to think. Cumulus, from Taylor. That's that's probably a $250 bottle. I don't just pull them. I don't pull out wine just to impress people. I mean, hell, I can pull out a $30 bottle and probably impress somebody because it's that good juice.
Sure.
It might taste better than that $250, but I bought that $250 bottle because I probably got a story behind it.
Sure.
Or it's a good wine, or because I'm not gonna just go blow the money on it. I'm not gonna say I have it, but 9 times out of 10 it's a good wine. But branching out, I have branched out. I know I do love Italian wines, a Super Tuscan, Chianti, Brunello.
We had Amarone the last time we were
the
there.
last time we
That
were
was
there,
really
we
good.
Amarones are great.
Really
Sandra,
good.
one of Sandra's favorite.
Verona, and there's a lot of good grapes up there in that what they call the Italian Alps, I guess.
I like a Nebbiolo. I like
And Spanish wines. I had I've drank a few. I can't say I know anything about them.
I will tell you
They're
that
grapes in certain areas, Tempranillos and shit like that, grown here, grown in California. I love them.
when I started trying to explore old world wines, French and Italy specifically, Italy was easier to get into for whatever reason. And which is kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of different because I came from that Napa background as well. When you think Napa, it's that Bordeaux grapes. It's the Merlot
More
and the Cab
fresh,
and the
fruity,
yeah. So you would
fruit
think
forward.
you would instinctively go to France and get that same Bordeaux
It's gonna be more
grape.
But you
earthy,
don't.
It's gonna be
But
totally
it's not.
different.
It's totally
Yeah,
different.
French wines
And
are
Italy
completely
was
different.
more what I liked.
Right.
But I will say in the last year, I have found some fantastic French wines.
See, and we've got to go explore that. For me to go buy
And here's the thing.
I think I would rather go there and experience there before I just
Before
go
you
buy.
buy.
them.
Yeah,
That's
but
just me.
here's the thing. Fantastic, over the top French wines. $50, $60, blow you away. Fantastic. Where Napa Valley,
Oh,
you're
they're
at
getting-
$200
they're
a
getting
bottle for that same
they're
kind
probably
of.
getting pricey because of all the liberals there. All the taxes they got to pay.
So,
I mean,
that's the one thing I've noticed in the last couple of years when I've been exploring really the old world wines is how less
Affordable they
expensive
can
it
be.
is. Yeah,
Right.
how affordable
Affordable,
they are
that's-
Very
compared to
affordable.
Napa.
To drink. Well, because they drink wine every day.
Chilean wines, Argentina wines. I love them. And, dude, you can buy those cheap.
Yeah. Well, I love some
Malbecs.
Malbecs. I love some
Love
Malbecs.
'em.
I mean,
Right.
and what's the other big one down there? Malbec and there's one other one. And they're both real. I mean,
I know they make cabs. They make Cab Francs.
Oh, yeah,
they make,
Cab Franc.
Yeah.
Cab Franc's is a big one down there. And they're so, you talking about cheap. You're talking $15, $20 a bottle. And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a great wine. Now, they got some expensive ones. There's a lot of Americans moving stuff down there. I mean,
Well,
with the
and-
Wagner
Yes, well,
family.
A lot of
have,
Americans buying
yeah.
stuff down there, and they see us buying. They're
Are
going,
you
The
saying like
Scooter from
Americans
Wagner.
buying grapes down
That
there?
are getting their grapes
Well,
and
and they're
bringing
buying
them in.
vineyards.
We
They're buying
even have
vineyards.
nice winery
nice
doing
winery
that too.
buys grapes down there now.
Right. Well, from, Camus, Wagner family.
Sure. That's
They have
the
the Scooter.
Voyage. Voyager.
Voyage,
Yeah,
whatever it
Voyage.
is. They buy that grape and they freeze them. And man, when they were on strike up here in San Francisco, they were worried about those grapes.
Being able to get into port.
Being able to get them in the port.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you Rutherfords have come a long way.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, we got a long ways to go.
From the travel agent saying you can't go to Italy, we can
we
can
weren't
kind
going to Italy. I wasn't.
of redirect you to Napa, and from there the journey just kind of took
began.
off.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
today, 700
Bad
bottles of wine at the house. And just so you know, the wine, we all kind of have a little name for our food and wine and where we come and enjoy and kind of visit and take care of. And yours is
The Rutherford tasting room.
the Rutherford
We have a
Tasting
little
Room.
room. We got a table that we bought in Italy, And it is a beautiful table.
And you got the shelves on the wall that have wine in them. You got a couple of huge refrigerators. You got wine refrigerators all through your house that have wine in them.
Closets.
But the room specifically is a Rutherford tasting room, and
right.
It's an experience to come over and just hang out and be sitting around all that wine and have some dinner.
It's a good time.
It is.
We've enjoyed hearing your story and your
poured some good ones. We've had some good pours, and sometimes we start getting a little overserved and pour too many expensive ones.
That happens?
It's happened. I can assure you. The next day, I'm like, why did we open that?
Well, that's part one of our episode. And we're going to come back and talk a little bit about Texas wines and just kind of visiting
getting your expertise on the Texas wines.
Well, I can't wait to hear your opinion from you were 15 years ago and going back now.
It's going to be incredible what you hear from me.
So that's it for this episode of Food, Wine, and Whiskey in Your Own Backyard. We'll be back and have another episode with Tracy and Rip Rutherford. And thanks so much for joining us. Until the next episode, enjoy your next pour.